All right, this is the Outfitr 2-bike rack. It's kind of like their base model 2-bike rack. It's got a maximum weight capacity of 200 pounds, 100 pounds per bike. If you're going to put it on the back of an RV, however, you need to reduce that to 120 pounds. It actually is designed for regular like road bikes, gravel bikes, that kind of thing, but you could definitely get a e-bike on here. E-bikes, at least the e-bikes I've had, weigh 50, 60 pounds, so got plenty of room for one of those. The rack is designed to fit a 2-inch hitch, not a smaller one, so if you have a smaller hitch, you're going to want a different rack or get an adapter of some sort. The maximum wheelbase for this rack is 58 inches, and it will accommodate up to a 5-inch wide fat tire. The unit itself weighs 42 pounds. As you can see, it has padded J-hook. It's not going to scratch or damage your bike. It has very little sway, as we're going to show when we do the on-the-road test. It comes with a 1-year warranty, and as you can see, it's got a safety reflector right down here for added visibility. This rack does tilt and it does fold, and I'm going to show you some of those options right now to see how that works. All right, so one of the features of this rack is that it can tilt. So the reason you'd want it to tilt is if you need to get into your hatchback here, if this opens right now, it's going to come up and it's going to hit the rack. Especially if you have bikes on here, you don't want to try and do that. So with this particular rack, you could tip this down, but if you have a bike on here, you don't want to do that. So what you want to do, take some of the weight off of here, pull this clip out, and this pin comes out. Then you can allow the bike to tilt out of the way, so that now you can open your hatchback. And there's enough clearance here for you to walk in here and get what you need out of your vehicle. So that's a really nice feature. So even with the bikes on here, it's not recommended to tilt it with the bikes on here because of the weight. But if you have relatively light bikes like I've got here and you're fairly strong, so what you can do is get back here, take some weight off this pin, pull the pin out, and gently lower your bikes, and now you can open the hatchback without hitting your bikes, and you can still get in to load and unload your vehicle without any problem. Now again, if you have really heavy bikes on here, you don't want to do this, but you can still take your bikes off the rack and tilt it if necessary. And then once it's closed, lift up the bikes. And again, this is not really easy to do, so you might need 2 people to help you do that if you're going to do that with bikes on the rack. Once you get to your destination and you've taken the bikes off the rack, next thing you're going to want to do, especially if you're in a parking lot where there's a lot of people walking around, you want to loosen this up, tilt this down, snug it up again, take a little bit of weight off of this pin, pull this out, pull out this pin, and fold it up. And then fold it up, put the pin back in so it doesn't move. And now it's nice and folded up so people aren't going to walk into your rack when they go past your car. So that's just a really nice feature of this rack. All right, so one of the other nice features of this rack is that the arms are foldable. So both of these arms fold up for storage. You can do that either while it's mounted on your car or if you're going to store it in the corner of the garage. So this really helps, and I'll show you how that works. You simply loosen these here, loosen these up, and then I'm going to show you from the other side. All right, you loosen that up and you kind of give it a push until the head of the screw comes loose from that notch there, and then the arm will fold up, and then you just tighten this down so that that stays put. And then on the other side, same thing, and then the whole thing will fold up. Then you snug it back up again so it stays there, and when it's folded up, you end up with a very small rack just like that, and that's what it's going to look like when the sides are folded up. So that's going to be a lot easier to store in your garage or even on your vehicle if that works better for you. And while it's folded up, you can still tilt that down so you can get into your hatchback. All right, now to load up the bikes, first thing you want to do is take out these retaining pins here. Make sure they're out of the way. And whichever side has the longer hook, this is the shorter hook, this is the longer hook, that's the side you want to put the bike on first. So bring these up and out of your way. All right, and then get the bike you're going to put on there. You loosen these up if you're not sure if your bike is set up yet. As far as the wheelbase goes, you can loosen up these cradles so that they'll move easy for you to line up the bikes. All right, so we're going to put this bike on here. All right, and the wheelbase is not quite big enough, and we want to kind of center this on the back of the truck. So we're going to loosen this one up. Bring it down this way. Make sure your pedals aren't going to hit anything. All right, you can kind of just lean it there. Take a look and see if you're more or less centered. You don't want one sticking out over the edge of your car. All right, once you got it pretty lined up, then take your J-hook at the top here, loosen it up, and just press that down. Put a little pressure on that and then tighten it up. All right, the bike's nice and snug. Now you make sure you tighten up the cradles here. If you're just gonna do one bike, then you're done. If you're gonna do two bikes, which we're gonna do, we're just gonna bring the next one on. All right, and make sure that's nice and snug so the bikes don't move. All right, and then the second bike, make sure your J-hook is up as high as it goes. There's plenty of room between the rack and the car to get in here and load the second bike, which is outstanding. All right, and same thing, we want to make sure it's pretty lined up, and just so the bike doesn't fall, put the J-hook down kind of loosely, and then we're going to adjust the cradles a little bit. I'm going to move the bike this way a little. All right. Okay, that's as far as it's going to go because this cradle's hitting the other cradle. That's not a problem. This one's just going to go this way a little. All right, once you got the cradles where you want them, push your J-hook down till it gets nice and secure on the top tube here, and then snug that up so it's not going to go anywhere. Then make sure your cradles are snug now that we have everything adjusted. All right, once everything's on there, make sure the bikes aren't touching anywhere that you don't want. If they are, you can put some padding on there. All right, and then you just want to strap in each of your wheels. There's 6 straps come with the rack. Typically, you're just going to use 4 for the wheels here, and then if you want to strap them in another couple of spots, you can do that. I like to make sure the buckles aren't right near my spokes. I don't want to ding up my spokes at all. So just speed these through. They're just spring-loaded ratchets on here. There's just like a spring-loaded clamp right here. So you just pull this through, snug it up. Just do that for all 4 tires. All right, and now we're secure there. All right, and then the last thing you want to do is take one of these pins and put it in right above each of the clamps here. And this is just to make sure that if you're going on a long trip and these loosen up somehow, that bouncing doesn't let these go up high enough to release your bike. So it's just a little extra safety precaution. All right, and then before you go, just do a quick snug up on every one of these thumb screws here. Make sure everything is tight. Make sure your pins are in and the retaining rings are in. Make sure your hitch is good and your retaining ring is in there. Give everything just a gentle shake here to make sure nothing's loose, and you are good to go. Now we're going to go for a ride and see how we do. All right, here we are. Going for a ride. I want to see how much sway. Looks like the bikes are not moving much at all back here. Nice and secure. All right, we're going down pretty good clip here. Bikes are nice and secure, no moving around. Very solid bike rack. All right, going down a pretty windy road here, and the bikes are staying nice and secure. Well, it's a pretty bumpy ride back here. Just got back from our little drive here, and everything nice and secure. Nothing has moved, nothing got damaged, nothing is bumped or scratched. All right, so this is a pretty good rack. It's about $200 from Outfitr. Outfitr 2-bike rack. Works really well. It's basic design, but it's got a lot of nice features. It's got the folding feature, the tilting feature. I'm completely satisfied with this rack. I'm going to use this rack from here on out whenever I meet my buddies to ride, and we will be good to go. If you want to check it out, there's a link down in the description for the Outfitr website, and they got a lot of other racks there too, in case this one isn't quite what you need. To unload the bikes, first you want to take your wheel straps off. Come off real easy just by unclasping the buckle. All right, and then I would just work backwards. We want to get the inside bike off first. All you need to do is go in here, get your retaining pins out, loosen your J-hook right here, grab a hold of the bike, push the J-hook up, and lift the bike right off the rack. All right, and then go to your second bike, loosen the J-hook, hold on to the bike, slide the J-hook up, tip the bike out. You can either snug that back up or just let it drop. Grab your bike and lift it off. We're Going to open up, assemble, and mount the Outfitr hitch mounted 2-bike rack. And I'm going to put it on the back of my Suburban here in a 2-inch hitch. All right, first we're going to get everything spread out right here on the floor. All right, so it looks like we got all the parts here. It does come with 2 Allen keys here, so that's helpful. All right, in the instruction manual, it shows you some tools that are best to have. It does looks like it comes with these 2 tools, and I'm going to supply these other wrenches here. On the second to the last page, this shows you which pieces of hardware are what number, because it does refer to those throughout the direction. Make sure you have all of these parts. All right, there are 2 bags of hardware. One bag contains all these pieces of kind of brass colored hardware, and the other bag contains some of the plastic parts. All right, this is the hardware and the parts we're going to need for step 1. Take one of these bars and set it in here. You want to line up this inner hole right here. All right, then we're going to take one of these bolts and we're going to run it. We're going to run it through from the back like that. And actually we're going to do that on both sides. All right, and then this bolt goes down through like that. That's going to allow these to swivel. We're going to put these nuts on the other side. Holding it with this smaller Allen key, and we're just going to snug that up. You want to make sure it's not too snug to come up like that. All right, and do the other side. All right, next we want to take this bolt here and we want to feed it through from this side like this on both sides, and then turn it around. And then we want to put a flat washer on both, then a spring washer, which is the one with a split in it, spring washer over here, and then another flat washer. Put them on just like that. All right, and then take these knobs and lift it up a little bit and spin those on. Okay, and when those are kind of snug, you're going to see that this bolt retracts into this cutout right here. So keep everything from moving. We'll go over the operation of that later. That is step 1. All right, for step number 2, we're going to take this vertical piece and we're going to put it right down in here, and we're going to line up the big hole with this hole right here. Stick this bolt right through that hole, just like that. All right, and then turn it around and then put the bolt on there, and we want to snug that up. So you want to use your Allen key to hold the nut head, and then just get it a little bit snug to hold it in place. We're going to take this bolt and we're going to push it through here. Make sure you're holding this nice and vertical. All right, and then once you get that through there, spin it around. And we're going to do the same thing as before. We're going to put on a flat washer, then the split lock washer, then another flat washer, and then the tightening knob right here. When this is perpendicular and you tighten this up, it's going to lock that down nice and snug. So this is what we have so far. All right, for step 3, we're going to attach what's called the folding shank with the support base. We're going to use this big bolt, the M16 bolt, and the nut. You're going to need a wrench that fits this nut in order to tighten it up, or a socket to fit that. You're going to use this pin and this clip that goes in the pin, and you're also going to use the bigger Allen key that they send. So this bolt is going to go right in the middle here once we get everything in place. So it's going to be easier to turn this sideways, so to hold it up in the air. It's easier to hold this one up in the air. And we want to line up this top hole with this middle hole right here. Put it on like that, and then get your bolt to go straight through. And it'll end up sitting like that. All right, and then you want to get your big lock nut there, put that on here, and then we just want to kind of snug this up. All right, you want to get it in there snug, but not too tight that it can't turn. And then this pin is going to be able to be removable, so you can put this in different positions, as we'll see when we go to operate it. So for now, just put it in like that, and then run this pin through there to lock that in place. So the other side should look just like that. I think it's going to be a lot easier to do step 4 if we go ahead and mount this in the truck. I think this is going to make it a whole lot easier to do the rest of the assembly. I know we just have this in here temporarily for mounting purposes, but in order to install this for actual use, you simply want to slide this into the hitch. There's going to be a hole back here, so that needs to line up with this hole right here. Sometimes you have to kind of get down low and take a look in there and see if that's lined up. Then you need to get your last piece of hardware here, which is going to be this biggest bolt here, Now the end of this bolt, this is a 24mm wide bolt head. So you are going to need a larger wrench. So you might need a crescent wrench or a wrench that's big enough to turn this bolt in order to get it in there. You want to put your lock ring on first and then your washer like that. And then you want to put it into the hole, assuming it's lined up. You want to turn it the first few turns with your finger, but if it doesn't turn, you probably just don't have it quite lined up. So you might want to just shift that a little. And you want to turn that in as far as it goes, finger tight. Again, you just want to jiggle it around a little bit until it turns nice and easy. Otherwise, you're going to struggle here for about 5 minutes. All right, and then do your best to get that as tight as you possibly can in there. The way this Suburban is kind of put together, it's hard to get a big wrench in here. If you have a 24mm socket, you could do this a lot easier than trying to get a crescent wrench in here. All right, and once you get that nice and tight in there, you want to take this pin and then just get this clip and push it through the hole. And that's just there to make sure, as an extra precaution, that even if this does loosen up, it won't be able to fall out. All right, and now we have our rack securely attached to the car. For step 4, we're just going to install the cradles. So you want to set them out kind of like this, a right hand and a left hand cradle on either end, and then they are just going to slide on. But it's important to put them on in a particular way. So you want to take this one here, slide this on first, just slide it on. And you don't have to tighten these now, but you want to snug it up just so they don't come off. And then this one goes on second. And the reason that makes a difference is because you want the other end to line up. This one here is going to go on first on this side, and then this one goes on second. And the reason for that is so that these two can kind of move and adjust independently to adjust for the bike. You can move a bike over a little bit or back. All right, so there's a look from the top. So just make sure you do it that way and you will thank me later. All right, so that completes step 4. Step 5 is next. For step 5, we're just gonna put on the 2 J-hooks, the reflector, the eyelet, and the 2 J-hook pins down there. You have a short J-hook and a long J-hook. The short J-hook, I'm not sure that this matters, but I'm just gonna do it the way the manual shows. The short J-hook goes on first, go down a certain amount, snug it up a little so it stays put. Then your long J-hook goes on next, snug that up a little bit. Next you have your eyelet. This screws into the top. And this is so you can run a bike cable or bike lock through it just for extra security. So I would screw it in by hand and then use some kind of a lever to get that nice and snug. All right, and then the reflector, that just snaps in the bottom here. Just kind of squeeze the 2 tabs together, and if you push it in and move it around, it'll snap in and it won't come out again. All right, and then these 2 pins, again, these are for added security. Once you get your bikes mounted onto the rack, you can slide these pins in just above the J-hooks. So that's just going to make sure that while you're driving, if you didn't tighten this up enough, it's not going to bounce and work its way up and release your bike. So that's just an extra precaution to secure the J-hooks in place. That pretty much completes the assembly of the unit. The only other parts here are the straps, and there's 4 of these straps with the little buckle on the end, and they're just for strapping each of your wheels into the cradle. All right, and that is it. Now your Outfitr 2-bike rack is completely assembled and ready to go. All right, that concludes the assembly, installation, and review of the Outfitr 2-bike rack. I'm gonna say I really love this rack for the price. It's about $200. It's on the lower end of quality racks, but it's a high quality rack for a really good price. It's got a lot of great features on it. The folding feature alone is something that I'm definitely going to use, as I'm going to store my rack right in the corner of the garage here. So if you're interested in this rack or any of the other Outfitr bike racks, there's a link in the description to take you to their website, and you'll see all the great racks that they have available. All right, well, thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.